There is something here that cannot be heard with the physical ear. If you listen for words, you will leave with words. If you let the words fall away and discern between the lines, you will meet the very presence that gives the words any meaning at all. Now then, we are not here to add a better idea to a crowded mind. We are here for that split second when a thought stops, and in the stillness the truth rushes, not the letter, the spirit. Let us say it plainly because it hides in piety. God, if you do this, then I will do that. If you heal this body, I will serve. If you open this door, I will give. If you fix this child, I will pray more. When the rent is due, when the report is dark, when the phone is cold and the house is colder, that is the prayer you do not admit you are praying. It is not a prayer. It is a contract drafted in fear and signed by a trembling eye. It is devotion dressed in business clothes. And the sacred is not a marketplace. My kingdom is not of this world. Hear it deeper than the tongue can say it. Not of this world. Not even an improved this world. Not even a perfect this world. The kingdom is not an exchange counter. There is no window where you hand over promises and receive blessings stamped paid. God does not enter the human scene as buyer or seller, creditor or debtor. The moment prayer becomes a negotiation, you have moved from grace into law. Mark it well. Write it in your bones. A bargain is law consciousness. You say, but I am humble. I offer to change. I will fast, I will tithe, I will be kind, I will try harder. That sounds like surrender. It is not. It is a price list. It is the personal I attempting to govern life by transaction. Do this, get that. Sow here, reap there. Trying to force spiritual supply to behave like worldly supply. Wages and rewards, earned and owed. That is the definition of law. Nobody buys the kingdom. Nobody. Not with tears, not with vows, not with hours logged on the knees. Now then, the controversy is only for the mind. The heart knows another way. There is a no-deals way. It is not trick prayer. It is not bargaining better. It is the ending of bargaining. It is the split second in which the personal I quits its haggling, falls silent, and spirit is felt. In that now, grace is not payment. Grace is government. Provision does not arrive as currency. It unfolds as presence, as order, as right place, as enough, as is. Listen to yourself when you pray. If there is an if and a then, stop mid-sentence. Let the words die. Be very still. My kingdom is not of this world. Not later, not when improved. Now. The rose never blooms tomorrow. Whenever it blooms, it is now. So it is with grace. We will not tease you with techniques. Only this. Cease trading in the sacred. Surrender without a clause. In that silence, without deal, without price, you will discover that the government is upon His shoulder, and you may rest. Now then, let us name it so there is no confusion. Law. Not the law of Moses, the law of the personal mind. The mental arithmetic of cause and effect. I perform, therefore God pays. I sacrifice, therefore life improves. I renounce this, I adopt that. Therefore the infinite signs my request. That is law. It is a marketplace masquerading as devotion. It is the I at the center, managing outcomes by transaction. There is no God in that scene. There is only a frightened self tallying debits and credits and calling it prayer. Listen beneath the words. Who is doing the bargaining? Who is calculating the promise and the payoff? The personal I. The same I that plans the day, worries the night, and then enlists God as an assistant to its agenda. Here is my plan, bless it. Here is my vow, honor it. Here is my sacrifice, now fulfill your end. Spirit is not an assistant. Spirit is not a buyer. Spirit is not a debtor. Nobody can bargain their way into spirit. You may coerce minds, pressure bodies, persuade friends, but you cannot pressure God. You cannot bribe reality. You cannot move the kingdom with a payment slip. What is this bargaining really saying? It is fear speaking in pious phrases. I am afraid that life will not hold unless I hold it. I am afraid that supply will fail unless I ensure it. I am afraid that God will not show up unless I arouse him with tears or promises. Fear is the confession of an orphaned I trying to govern its own universe. When fear is running, you are already under law, the law of self-preservation, self-justification, self-control. In that jurisdiction, everything is conditional. Do enough, you live. Miss a step, you are condemned. That is not grace. That is not the kingdom. Notice what it breeds. Chronic anxiety, endless bookkeeping. Did I do enough? Did I pray long enough? Did I promise enough? Did I fail the contract? If the demonstration stalls, you add a clause. If the pain returns, you raise the price. This is slavery to your own ledger, and with it, subtle shame. I did not pay properly. I am unworthy. Under law, you must always ask, have I met the terms? Under grace, there are no terms. Under law, you live under the threat of forfeiture. Under grace, there is no forfeiture, because there is no contract. My kingdom is not of this world. The world of deals is the world of time, the world of sequence, the world of if, then, later. In that world, you are always one payment away from panic. In the kingdom, there is only is. Grace is not response. Grace is government. Not wages earned after performance, but the presence that is itself supply before a thought is formed. The personal I cannot enter that reign because it trades, it times, it fears, it governs. And so long as that I is bargaining, you have kept yourself where law must rule and condemnation must accompany it. Now, do not argue with me. Look inside. Catch the instant you begin to calculate with God. That is the bell that tells you, you have chosen law. And with that choice comes the whole freight, fear, pressure, tallying, and the fatigue of deserving. The way out is not a better clause. It is the end of clauses. But hear this much today. As long as the personal I is purchasing, you will live by purchase, uncertain, temporary, and afraid. When the purchasing stops, grace is not acquired. It is recognized as already present, already governing, already enough. This is why bargaining is law, because it keeps I on the throne, counting coins in a kingdom that cannot be bought. My kingdom is not of this world. Do not let that pass as poetry. Hear it where the ear cannot hear. Two realms. Not two grades of the same thing, two realms. This world and the kingdom. The kingdom is not an improved this world. It is not a perfected this world. It is not a sanitized marketplace with kinder prices. It is another government altogether, another atmosphere, another law, another is. Now then, why can a deal never reach it? Because a deal is born in scarcity. It needs leverage, time, comparison, and the fear of loss. A deal assumes an employer and an employee, a merchant and a buyer, a price and a delivery date. That is the architecture of this world. You may move product with it, you may shift human conditions with it, but you will not touch spirit with it. Nobody. Nobody. In the marketplace, everything waits upon an if. If I do, then you do. If I pay, then you ship. The soul does not live there. Grace does not live there. The soul does not stand at a counter. Grace does not consider terms. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. Spirit, not in the bargaining mind. Truth, not in the ledger's arithmetic. There is no God in the human scene as fixer, as adjuster, as paymaster. Do you think the infinite bends into the counting house to stamp your invoice approved? No. God is not a function of the marketplace. God is. Now listen closely. When you pray as though God were inside the bazaar, when you offer promises and expect shipments, you nail your consciousness to the bazaar. And then you say, "Why am I dry? Why does prayer echo?" Because you are speaking to an idol of your own making, a God of law and later, and there is nothing there to answer. Do you have ears and do not hear? The hearing must be in another realm. It is not that you are bad. There is no scolding in this. It is simply misplaced address. You are dialing the human band and expecting the music of the kingdom. Change the band. Shift the realm. Not by better words, not by holier vows, but by that split second in which bargaining thought ceases and a stillness opens. In that instant, not a statement, but presence. Not a covenant, but is. The transition is inward, immediate, without price. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. Remain, if you must, among shops and contracts for your daily work, but do not carry that trade into the sanctuary. Come empty. Come without offer. Let the government be upon his shoulder. And then, without negotiation, without threat of forfeiture, you will find the governance of grace quietly present. Direction without deadlines, supply without purchase, life without an if. My kingdom is not of this world. Enter, and the marketplace releases you, even while your feet still walk its streets. Now then, let us come to time. A bargain is never now. It cannot be. Every, "if you will, then I will," mortgages the present to a future. If you help me next week, then I will pray more. If this interview goes well tomorrow, then I will give. If the payment clears Friday, then I will trust. Do you see? The very grammar of a bargain stands on tomorrow. And tomorrow is not a place. Tomorrow is a vacuum. Try it. Try to live a minute from now. You cannot breathe it, you cannot think it, you cannot act there. A minute from now is nothing at all. It has never arrived. It never will. Whenever life is lived, it is now. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. Whenever supply appears, it appears now. My kingdom is not of this world, and it is not of time. There is no kingdom of heaven yesterday, and there is no kingdom of heaven tomorrow. The kingdom is a state of grace, and grace is present tense. I am, not I was, not I will be. As long as your prayer throws its weight into later, you are postponing the only consciousness in which grace is felt. You are standing at the door, promising to enter at a better hour, while the feast is now. This is why stress makes you a better trader and a worse disciple. Financial pressure rises, the mind leaps to the calendar, counts days, arranges rescues, and then drafts a covenant with God. Get me to Friday, get me through this month, get me past this audit, and I will straighten up. Pressure projects. Projection breeds deals. Deals breed fear. And fear is the whisper, I must govern my life by managing what comes next. Hear me. The moment you attempt to live in time, you have taken yourself out of the kingdom of heaven. Not God leaving you, your thought leaving God. Now, the discipline is simple and it cuts. When the bargaining impulse rises, do not bargain with it. Do not correct it with holier words. Do not add a clause to cancel a clause. Stop mid-sentence. Let the tongue fall. Let the calendar fall. Be still for a split second, long enough for a thought to stop. In that gap rushes the truth. Not a statement about supply, but the presence that is supply. Not a promise about health, but is. You will say, but the bill is due. Nobody denies the date printed in ink. We simply deny it government. We refuse to hand sovereignty to a page. The government is upon his shoulder. Therefore, return to now. Return as many times as the fear beckons you into tomorrow. One breath, one awareness, one inner turning. Here I am. You will discover that grace does not arrive as an answer to a future question. Grace reveals itself as the only fact that ever was. And then you notice, the next step is given, the needed word spoken, the provision appearing, not because you bought it with vows, but because in now you ceased blocking what always is. So mark it well. Bargaining is an attempt to secure tomorrow. Grace is realized only now. Each time you feel the pull to ensure the future with promises, let that be your bell. Do not run ahead. Do not run back. Stand where God is. Now then. Now. Now then. Let us translate our piety into plain speech so it cannot hide. The bargain says, I do not trust grace to govern me. I must offer something to get something. I must leverage God, or else God will not move. That is the confession behind every, if you will, then I will. It is fear talking religion. It is the personal I trying to run a universe and hiring God as a consultant. Hear it in your own breast. I will make my demonstration if I can secure it with vows, with hours, with tears. And then, as an afterthought, Lord, help. That is not help. That is an addendum to self-government. When we fear, we announce, I am counting on myself. We may say God with the lips, but the heartbeat is, I must manage outcomes. Fear is the siren that says the I is at the wheel. Every tremor, every rush to the calendar, every tightened chest is a sermon your body is preaching. I am attempting to live by law. You can know your government by your atmosphere. If there is strain, it is law. If there is, it is grace. My kingdom is not of this world, not of its fear, not of its later, not of its buying and selling of worth. Look at the fatigue it breeds. The ledger opens. Worthy today, unworthy yesterday. Enough prayer, long enough silence, too many mistakes. You begin to compare yourself with saints and sinners, with neighbors, with your younger self. That is not worship. That is accountancy. Prayer becomes strained because you are pleading a case in a courtroom of your own making. You present evidence, you fear the verdict, you raise the bid. And when the pain does not yield, you promise more. This is not spirit. This is the I wearing a halo to do business. But doesn't God want obedience? Yes. Yes, but not as payment. Obedience is not currency. It is alignment. Obedience is turning the sail into the wind, not paying the wind to blow. It is tuning the instrument to pitch, not bribing music to appear. 2 plus 2 does not demand tribute to be 4. It requires conformity to principle. So it is with spirit. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. Not in the bargaining mind. Not in the arithmetic of effort. In spirit, by yielding the I. In truth, by accepting what is already so in the kingdom. Set the standard clean. Worship is not pleading. Worship is not purchasing. Worship is not promising. Worship is yielding. It is the split second when a thought stops, the contract falls from the hand, and something else takes the government. Not a sentence of truth, the truth itself. Not a plan blessed, a presence felt. In that instant, fear reveals itself as nothing, an echo of an I that stepped off the throne. Then prayer is no longer strain, it is recognition. Not, if you will, but, thy grace is my sufficiency. Not later, not earned, now. Nobody buys the kingdom. Nobody. Drop the bid. Let the I rest a moment. Be still, long enough for a thought to stop. In that hush, you will know why bargaining felt so heavy. You are carrying a world that is not yours to govern. And you will feel, without words, the government upon his shoulder. Quietly, the room changes, though no furniture moved. Quietly, fear loosens, though no contract was signed. My kingdom is not of this world. Enter, and let grace govern. Now then, let us come to the hinge. The end of bargaining is not a better bargain. It is not holier language, or longer hours, or cleaner vows. Revelation is not produced by correct sentences. You may speak the right words for 100 years and never once touch the thing itself. The physical tongue cannot utter truth, and the physical ear cannot hear it. Something else must happen. A thought must stop. There must be a split second, no more, of silence. And in that instant, the truth rushes. Not a statement of truth, the Spirit itself. Do not make this mystical in the wrong way. It is definite. It occurs in time for our recognition, though it is of the timeless. 10 o'clock in the morning. After a rash of phone calls, the mind suddenly runs out of bargains and drops. Midnight. After pages of promises, the pen sets itself down, and there is a hush you did not manufacture. 3 o'clock in the dark. After rehearsing tomorrow's rescue, a breath widens of its own accord. The bargaining mind exhausts its fuel. It cannot push another clause. In that precise second, you do not reach for another sentence. You do not finish the prayer. You fall still. And the kingdom, which is not of this world, is felt. What happens? Not necessarily a new idea, not a flash of instruction you can quote. Presence. Weightless, yet more solid than bone. The need to manage relaxes. The right to control loosens its grip. The inner hand that clutched for leverage opens by itself. Your chest is no longer on trial. The calendar is dismissed from the bench. You do not conclude, all is well. You discover is. The government is upon his shoulder. In that awareness, fear cannot find a seat. It may circle the room, but there is no chair reserved for it. Now hear the difference, because some of you have called resignation surrender and have wondered why nothing lives there. Resignation is a sigh with the door closed, giving up hope, keeping control in despair. It is defeat wearing humility's clothes. Surrender is not that. Surrender is the release of leverage, the relinquishment of bargaining rights. You are not quitting life, you are quitting the role of paymaster. You are not abdicating expectancy, you are abdicating ownership. In resignation, the I sulks. In surrender, the I steps off the throne, and the room knows it. Practical now. The moment you hear yourself drafting terms with God, mid-sentence, stop. Let the words fall like coins you will not spend. Do not finish the deal. Take the split second. Do not insert a holier clause. Do not repair the thought. Let thought end. One breath. No tomorrow in it. No yesterday in it. Here I am. If you are standing at the sink, stand. If you are halfway through an email promising God a better you, let the cursor blink and say nothing. If you are kneeling with a list, close the list without closing the eyes. Give spirit the gap. That is all. Nobody buys the kingdom. Nobody. No more contracts. No more spiritual bookkeeping. The mechanism is silence, brief as the wing beat, whole as the sky. In that instant, not a plan blessed, a presence felt. Not wages, government. And from that government flows what it wills, when it wills, as it wills, unfoldment, not payment. My kingdom is not of this world. Now then, enter by a split second. Now then. If not a deal, what? Thy grace is my sufficiency. Not poetry, government. There is a state of grace that governs the individual, guides, directs, supplies, without negotiation. It does not wait to be provoked by promises. It does not awaken because of your tears. It is. It is operating now. When you stop pressing, you feel its pressurelessness. When you cease managing, you discern its management. When the I steps down, government shows itself to have been on his shoulder all along. Learn the difference between asking and bargaining. Asking is openness. Bargaining is coercion. Asking is communion. Bargaining is contract. Asking is, here I am, and then silence enough to hear what is. Bargaining is, here are my terms, and then noise enough to drown the kingdom. Asking consents to what is already true in the realm of spirit. Bargaining tries to create truth by promise in the realm of time. The one yields, the other yanks. The one receives, the other demands. The one prays, "Thy will be done," and means it. The other says it, and then slips a rider beneath it. Now then, abandon the phrase, "my demonstration." It keeps the I at the controls and presumes a production to be achieved. There are no private productions in spirit. There is grace in operation. Recognize that, and the strain ends. You do not force outcomes, you witness unfolding. You do not purchase effects, you watch principle be itself as your experience. 2 + 2 is 4, whether you plead or pout. So it is with grace. Is supplies, is guides, is heals, when you are still enough to let it be. Do not make a formula out of examples, but see the flavor. Supply. Under grace, the rent is met not as a reward for vows, but as a rightness that appears on time. A client you never planned calls. An adjustment you did not foresee cancels a debt. A door you did not knock opens. Health. Under grace, the body is not bullied by decrees. There is a softening, a relinquishment of fear, and either vitality returns through a physician's hand, or the fear of symptom evaporates, and the symptom with it. Right activity. Under grace, you do not force a career. The next work finds you as naturally as breath follows breath. In each case, note it well. The channel may look worldly. The source is not. My kingdom is not of this world. Therefore, provision may come through a check, through a neighbor, through medicine, through an email. But it is not produced by any of these methods. The river flows through many beds. It is not born of the sand. Practice the posture of government. Not frantic affirmation, quiet consent. Not make this happen, but let be what already is. Sit, stand, walk with this inner sentence, without strain, without timing it. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Say it as recognition, not request. Let it end the sentence. Do not add a clause. Let a thought stop. Allow the split second. And watch. You will notice decisions make themselves cleanly. You will notice the next step is unforced. You will notice the sense of being kept in a way no bargain ever kept you. My kingdom is not of this world. Enter that government and stay. Provision under grace is not purchased. It is perceived. Not promised into being, revealed as being. Now then, live there. Now then, let us touch the bargain that hides under holiness. It sounds like surrender, but it is a price list whispered at the altar. If you bless this work, I will read more. If you fix this body, I will serve more. If you open this door, I will quit that habit. If you prosper the house, I will be more spiritual. Do you hear the coin? It is piety as currency. A better you offered to buy a better life. That is not surrender. That is commerce dressed in white. Why does it fail? Because it keeps you in the identity of the striver, always becoming, never being, always proving, never resting. The I remains at the center, managing its progress, timing its holiness, measuring its gains. Student forever, seeker forever, trying to be good enough to enter a kingdom that is not entered by grades. Under that spell, time is your judge. One more book, one more vow, one more clean week. Tomorrow you will qualify. Tomorrow is a vacuum. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. The kingdom never meets you in soon. It is I am. Not I will be, not I was. Am. This is the paradox your piety resists. You do not reach the kingdom by becoming good enough. You awaken to the fact that, in spirit, the essence is already whole. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. Not in the slow audition of a better self, but in the recognition of what is. My kingdom is not of this world, not of its ladders, not of its auditions, not of its report cards. You may tune your instrument, yes, but you are not paying music to appear. You are aligning with what already is sound. Now then, when these inner vows do not purchase the result, guilt rushes in. God refused me. I failed the test. No, God did not refuse you. Your bargain refused grace. The contract you drafted tethered you to law, cause and effect in time, and law consciousness cannot perceive grace. You tuned your radio to the marketplace and wondered why the music of the kingdom was faint. There is no God in the human scene as paymaster. The paymaster did not answer because there is no such God to answer. Tough love now. Stop narrating your shortcomings. Nobody needs your sin list at breakfast, lunch, and bedtime. Keep quiet and go ahead and struggle if you must, but do not build a religion out of self-condemnation. It is only the I keeping its seat by telling you how unworthy you are and how hard it will try tomorrow. When you catch that sermon rising, drop it mid-sentence. Let a thought stop. Give the split second. Here I am. Not, here I am becoming. Here I am. Throw away the inner vow. Drop the bid for a better you to earn a better life. Let "Thy grace is my sufficiency" be recognition, not leverage. Not a carrot for God, a consent to government. In that hush, you will not feel promoted for performance. You will feel kept now, under a government not of this world. And the next rightness will unfold without payment, without pride, without shame. Grace being itself as your experience. Now then, what happens after the contract falls from your hand? You relax. The strain to engineer life lets go of your throat. The sense of personal responsibility to make the sun rise, to make the door open, to make the body obey by force, dissolves. Not because someone else, some bigger I, agrees to carry your plans, but because planning is no longer the government. The government is upon his shoulder. There is a felt is, and with it, the frantic manager steps down. You still answer emails, you still buy groceries, but you do not buy tomorrow with vows. You live now under grace. Let us speak of automatic, because some of you want magic. There is no magic. There is principle. As surely as 2 and 2 are 4 without your pleading, grace operates without your purchasing. Automatic does not mean capricious surprises tossed from the sky. It means the naturalness of harmony when consciousness is aligned with what is. In music, when the instrument is tuned, the chord resolves of itself. Not a miracle. Principle. In spirit, when bargaining ceases and the I is quiet, life resolves as unfoldment. Not wages, but order. Not luck, but law of the kingdom. Financial stress? The human picture shouts. Bills glare in red. Dates circle themselves. The mind, trained by the bazaar, reaches for a deal. Get me to Friday and I will... Stop. Nobody is asking you to deny the ink or lie about the sum. We are refusing government to it. Take the paper in your hand if you must, feel its weight, and then lay it down. One breath. A thought stops. Here I am. Not tomorrow's rescue, now's presence. Stay long enough for the first thread of guidance to show. Write this note. Make this call. Wait today and act at 10 tomorrow. Cancel that purchase. Accept that work you had dismissed. Go to the appointment you feared. Not a voice to the ear, but an inner rightness. Timing that feels clean. Restraint that feels strong. An opening that wasn't there and doesn't need pushing. This is guidance. It will not shout. It will not flatter you with heroics. It will place your foot where it belongs. Now, do not test God. The bargaining mind will try to turn grace into an experiment. I will stop dealing for a week and see if money appears. That is a deal about not dealing. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Live the principle. Let fruit be fruit. Trees do not check themselves every hour to see if apples popped out. They remain rooted, and in season there is provision, inevitable because of what they are. So with you in grace. Rooted in provision arrives as the right thing at the right time by the right door. And afterward, you marvel at the quiet of it. You will notice this sign. Less hurry. Less noise in the chest. Decisions are clean. Steps are simple. The next arrives without tearing you from now. Sometimes supply appears by a check you did not anticipate. Sometimes by work that corrects your pride. Sometimes by a release from what you never needed. The channels vary. The source does not. My kingdom is not of this world. Therefore, while the form may pass through the world's hands, the government that ordains it is not for sale. Take courage. The marketplace in you has been loud for years. It will rattle its wares a while longer. Each time it shouts, let a thought stop. No pledge, no proof demand. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Recognition, not leverage. Then stand still enough to see unfoldment begin. Not purchased, not postponed. Present. Now then, do not imagine that grace lifts you out of the street. We still have houses to clean, children to guide, partners to honor, clients to call, forms to sign, bread to buy. You will sit in meetings. You will answer texts. You will stand in lines. But you will refuse to make any of these the arena where God must be negotiated with. You will not drag the bazaar into the sanctuary. You will not ask the infinite to stamp your invoice approved. God is not a paymaster. God is. Set a simple rule and keep it as you would breath itself. Give up yesterday. Give up tomorrow. Refuse the midnight rehearsals that manufacture fear and start the old contract running. Do not edit the scene that has passed. Do not preview the scene that is not born. Can you live an hour ago? Can you breathe a minute from now? A minute from now is a vacuum. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. Therefore, the kingdom is now, and all bargaining lives outside it, because all bargaining lives in later. Practice must be moment by moment, or it is no practice at all. The instant you feel the tug to trade, if this client signs, then I will. If this child obeys, then I will. If this body behaves, then I will. Stop mid-sentence. Let the thought fall like a coin you will not spend. Take the split second. No yesterday in it, no tomorrow in it. Here I am. Not a statement about grace, the feel of is. Stand there until the breath steadies and the next rightness appears without strain. A call to make, a word to withhold, a step to take, a plan to release. Not a voice to the ear, but a clean timing that does not flatter you with heroics. Broaden now, because grace is not private property. A consciousness under grace becomes a blessing in rooms where fear has been trading all day. You become less manipulative because you are not bargaining for outcomes through people. You become less fearful because you do not depend on their yes or no for life. You become less demanding because you are not treating neighbors as your supply house. Not one in this room is seeking anything of any other one in this room. Not for love, not for money, not for security. You carry your own weather, and in that atmosphere, others rest. They are not being sold. They are not being bought. They are met. You will still sign checks, but not with trembling. You will still correct a child, but without threat. You will still decline a proposal, but without inner warfare. If there is strain, it is law. If there is, it is grace. Keep the negative rule. Give up yesterday, give up tomorrow. Keep the positive practice. A split second, again and again, where the I releases governance and the government is felt upon his shoulder. My kingdom is not of this world, and yet you may remain in this world as one not of it, feet on its pavements, heart in its traffic, but governed by grace, not by contracts. Stay there. Nobody buys this life. Nobody. Live now, and let unfoldment answer where bargaining used to shout.